My sister refused to allow my 17-year-old daughter at her wedding because she was underage. I didn't protest. I simply replied that we wouldn't be coming. You're being ridiculous, Bridget said over the phone. It's one day. Can't Violet stay with a babysitter? A babysitter, I repeated. For my 17-year-old daughter. You know what I mean. This is my wedding, my special day. I specifically chose a child-free celebration for a reason. What she meant was that children under 18 weren't sophisticated enough for her $300 per plate dinner and open bar at the country club. Never mind that Violet was months away from college. Never mind that she'd been helping plan this wedding for a year, addressing invitations in her perfect calligraphy, creating the seating chart spreadsheet. Then we won't be there, I said. The silence stretched. Then, Mom will be so disappointed in you. I hung up. Within an hour, my mother called. Then my aunt. Then Bridget's maid of honor, who I'd never even met. All with the same script. Bridget's wedding only happens once. Can I be flexible? Violet will understand. This is about family. I didn't answer any of them. What they didn't know was that 3 weeks earlier, Bridget had called me at 2 a.m., sobbing. Her fiancé Garrett had disappeared for 48 hours with no explanation. She'd driven to my house in her pajamas, mascara streaked down her face, and slept on my couch while Violet made her tea and sat with her through panic attacks. He's having an affair, Bridget had whispered. I know it. Violet had held her hand. You deserve better than someone who makes you feel this way. By morning, Garrett had returned with an excuse about a work emergency and a designer handbag. Bridget took him back and never mentioned that night again. The wedding was set for Saturday at 6 p.m. On Friday, Violet had a college interview scheduled for 9 a.m., 200 miles away. She'd been preparing for months. It was her dream school. I can reschedule, she said quietly. Absolutely not. Saturday morning, we drove to the interview together. Violet was brilliant, answering every question with the poise I'd watched her develop over 17 years of being dismissed by my family for being too young, too sensitive, too much. My phone buzzed throughout the interview, 17 missed calls by the time we finished. The wedding started in 6 hours. We were 4 hours away. Mom, Violet said as we walked to the car, we could still make it, if we leave right now. I looked at my daughter. She'd worn her best dress for the interview. She was shaking slightly, the way she always did after something important. No, I said, let's get lunch instead. Your choice. We had Korean barbecue at this tiny place she'd been wanting to try. We talked about her interview, her college essay, everything except the wedding happening 200 miles away. At 6:47 p.m., right when Bridget would be walking down the aisle, my phone rang. My mother. Where are you? She hissed. Bridget is hysterical. The wedding is ruined. I told her we weren't coming. You selfish. I hung up. At 9:15 p.m., a photo appeared in the family group chat. Bridget in her dress, mid-ceremony, makeup running. The caption from my aunt. Thanks a lot. You broke your sister's heart on her wedding day. I muted the chat. What I didn't know was that at 9:47 p.m., someone would send me a video from the reception, and what I'd see would change everything about what I thought I knew about this wedding, about Bridget, and about why she'd really wanted Violet excluded. The video came from a number I didn't recognize. No message, just a 47-second clip. I was sitting on Violet's bed while she showed me photos from campus. She'd fallen in love with the school, with the library that looked like a cathedral, with the professor who'd spent an extra 20 minutes discussing her research interests. Just a second, honey, I said, clicking the video. The footage was shaky, clearly filmed on someone's phone from behind a decorative column at the reception. I could see the dance floor, the elaborate centerpieces, the champagne fountain Bridget had insisted on. The timestamp read 9:32 p.m. Then, I saw Garrett. He was leaning against the bar, his tie loosened, jacket discarded. A woman in a red dress stood close to him, too close. His hand was on her waist, fingers splayed possessively. She laughed at something he said, touching his chest. I recognized her immediately. Violet's former babysitter, Kendra. She'd watched Violet when she was 13 and 14, before Violet got old enough to stay home alone. Kendra had been 21 then, finishing college. She'd been sweet with Violet, teaching her to braid hair and letting her stay up past bedtime to watch cooking shows. That would make her 25 now. In the video, Garrett pulled Kendra closer. She whispered something in his ear. He nodded, glanced around, and they disappeared toward the country club's garden exit. The video ended. I stared at the screen. Mom! Violet's voice seemed far away. What's wrong? I replayed the video, watched Garrett's hand slide lower on Kendra's back, watched how comfortable they looked together, like they'd done this before, many times before. Mom, you're scaring me. I showed her the video. Violet went very still. Then, is that Kendra? Yes. At Bridget's wedding? Yes. With Garrett? I nodded. Violet took my phone, watched the video 3 more times. Her expression changed from confusion to understanding, to something cold and calculating that reminded me she was my daughter. That's why, she said quietly. What? That's why she didn't want me there. She knew Kendra would be there. She knew I'd recognize her. The pieces fell into place. Kendra had stopped babysitting abruptly. One day she was part of our routine. The next she'd texted that she couldn't watch Violet anymore. Family emergency, she'd said. I thought it was strange, but hadn't pushed. That was 3 years ago, right around when Bridget and Garrett started dating. Do you have Kendra's number still? I asked. Violet shook her head. I deleted it after she ghosted me. I texted her like 5 times asking if she was okay, and she never responded. I looked at the unknown number that had sent the video. Whoever they were, they'd wanted me to see this. They'd wanted me to know. I called the number. It rang 4 times, then went to a generic voicemail. This is Melissa, I said. Thank you for sending that. If you have more information, please call me back. I hung up. Violet was still staring at the video, frozen on the frame where Garrett's hand was clearly visible on Kendra's waist. Bridget knew. Violet said. She had to know. That's why she created this whole child-free policy. She didn't want me to see Kendra and ask questions. But Kendra's 25, she's not underage. Exactly. The rule wasn't about sophistication or the open bar. It was about keeping me away specifically. My phone rang. The unknown number. Hello? Is this Violet's mom? A woman's voice. Young, nervous. Yes. Who is this? A pause. I work at the country club. I've been serving tables here for 2 years. I've seen Garrett and that woman together. A lot. How often? Every Tuesday night. He has a regular reservation at the club restaurant. She meets him there. They're not exactly subtle. Everyone on staff knows. Does Bridget know? I don't know, but I thought someone should. Especially after... She stopped. After what? After he screamed at her tonight. Your sister. He was furious that you didn't come. Said she'd promised him everyone would be there. That it would be the perfect day. Then he disappeared into the garden with that woman for 45 minutes. While your sister was cutting the cake. I closed my eyes. Why are you telling me this? Because I have a little sister. She's 16. And the way he looks at teenage girls who come here for their sweet 16s, she inhaled sharply. I've been documenting everything. Times, dates, photos. I was going to send it to your sister, but I chickened out. Then tonight, I heard him on the phone in the hallway. He was talking about Violet. My blood went cold. What did he say? He said, she's almost 18, right? Legal in a few months. Worth the wait. And he laughed. The room tilted. Violet grabbed my arm. Are you recording this conversation? I asked. Yes. Send me everything, every photo, every date, every detail. I will. But there's something else. The woman in the red dress? She's not the only one. There have been others. Young ones. Always girls in their early 20s. Sometimes younger. How much younger? I don't know. I don't card them. But young enough that I started keeping records 6 months ago in case someone needed proof. What's your name? Amy. Amy Castellano. Amy, I'm going to need you to talk to a lawyer. Will you do that? If it helps. That man shouldn't be married to anyone, and he definitely shouldn't be around anyone's daughter. After she hung up, I sat in silence. Violet was crying quietly, the way she did when she was trying to be strong. He was waiting for me to turn 18, she whispered. We don't know that for certain. Mom, you heard what she said? I pulled her close. She was shaking. My daughter who'd held my sister during panic attacks, who'd addressed wedding invitations with her perfect handwriting, who'd just crushed a college interview despite knowing her entire family was furious with her. I'm calling Bridget, I said. Don't. She chose him. She chose him over you, over me, over everything. She needs to know. She already knows, Mom. That's why she didn't want me there. She didn't want to protect me. She wanted to protect him from getting caught. I looked at my daughter. When had she gotten so wise? She's still my sister, I said. And I'm still your daughter. She picked him. You picked me. Within minutes, my phone lit up. Amy had sent 47 photos, a spreadsheet with dates and times, and several videos. Garrett with different women, always young, always at the country club on Tuesday nights when Bridget taught her evening yoga class. I forwarded everything to my phone's secure folder. Then I called my brother, the only family member who'd texted me privately during the wedding drama. Tell me you're calling because you've come to your senses, he said. I'm calling because I need you to do something without asking questions. What? I'm sending you some files. I need you to give them to Bridget, in person, tomorrow. Don't tell anyone else in the family. What is this about? Her husband, and the real reason she didn't want Violet at her wedding. Silence. Then, send them. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about Bridget at 2 a.m., sobbing on my couch. About how Violet had made her tea and held her hand. About how Bridget had gone back to Garrett and never mentioned it again. About how she'd spent a year planning a wedding designed to exclude my daughter, not to protect Violet, to protect Garrett's secrets. At 3 a.m., my phone rang. Bridget. What the fuck did you do? She screamed. I sent you the truth. Those photos are fake. Garrett explained everything. That woman is his business partner's daughter. They were discussing a deal. At 2 a.m. in the garden during your reception, you're jealous. You've always been jealous. You couldn't have your perfect day, so you're trying to ruin mine. Bridget, I know what this is really about. You're mad that I didn't want Violet there. But you have to understand, she's so dramatic. She would have made everything about her. The photos, the dinner, everything. I know what teenage girls are like. She's 17. She was helping you plan this wedding for a year. Because she wanted attention. Because she wanted everyone to see how helpful she was being. I saw right through it. I'd never heard my sister talk like this. The cruelty in her voice was unfamiliar, like a stranger had taken over her body. There are 47 photos, Bridget. Videos. A server at your club documenting everything for 6 months. Multiple women. I don't care. I love him. We're married now. You can't change that. I'm not trying to change anything. I'm trying to warn you. Warn me about what? That my husband is attractive and women throw themselves at him? I already know that. It's not his fault they're desperate. He was on the phone talking about Violet. About waiting until she turns 18. The silence stretched for so long I thought she'd hung up. Then, you're lying. I have a recording. Let me hear it. No. Why not? Because it doesn't exist? Because I don't trust what you do with it. You'd show it to Garrett. He'd know someone's been documenting him. He'd be more careful. And I need him to not be careful. You're insane. Stay away from me. Stay away from my husband. And keep your daughter away from both of us. She hung up. Violet appeared in my doorway. I heard yelling. Bridget's not ready to hear the truth. Will she ever be? I don't know. We made tea and sat at the kitchen table watching the sunrise through the window. Violet had her college acceptance letter spread out in front of her, the one that had arrived 2 weeks ago. Full scholarship, 4 years paid, her dream school. When I was applying, she said quietly, Bridget told me not to get my hopes up. She said girls like me don't get into schools like that. When I asked what she meant, she said girls whose mothers never finished college and whose fathers aren't in the picture, girls without connections. I set down my mug. She said that to you? Last Christmas, you were in the kitchen. She pulled me aside and said I should consider community college. That aiming too high would just disappoint me. Why didn't you tell me? Because you were so excited about my applications. And because I wanted to prove her wrong. She had proven her wrong. My brilliant daughter who'd made valedictorian despite my sister's predictions, who'd gotten a full scholarship despite having no connections, who'd held a broken woman during panic attacks and never asked for thanks. I'm proud of you, I said. I know. At 7 a.m., my mother called. I let it go to voicemail. She called again, and again. On the fourth call, I answered. You need to apologize to your sister, she said without preamble. No. Whatever you sent her has her inconsolable. She called me at 4 a.m. crying. On the morning after her wedding. You ruined her honeymoon. She's not going on her honeymoon? How could she after what you did? She and Garrett are at home trying to work through the poison you've spread. It's not poison if it's true. True? You sent her doctored photos, lies from some jealous server, all because you couldn't handle being excluded from one event. Violet was excluded, not me. Same thing. You've always been too attached to that girl. It's not healthy. She's 17, not 7. She could have stayed home. From her aunt's wedding, after spending a year helping plan it, she was being included in the planning to keep her busy, to make her feel useful. Bridget didn't actually need her help. She has a wedding planner. I closed my eyes. My entire family had known. They'd known Violet was being used, given meaningless tasks to keep her occupied and grateful, and none of them had said anything. I need to go, I said. Melissa, wait. I know you're upset, but this is Bridget's marriage, her life. You need to let her make her own choices. I'm letting her. I'm just making sure she has all the information to make those choices. The information is biased, from a stranger who probably wants money. The information comes from the country club's security cameras, time-stamped, dated, undeniable. My mother was quiet. Then, even if it's true, what do you want Bridget to do? Leave him the day after her wedding? Embarrass our entire family? Think about the guests, the gifts, the announcements. They just sent out wedding photos. I want her to be safe. Safe from what? A man who finds her beautiful? Who married her in front of 200 people? Who bought her a house? You're paranoid. He's been cheating on her every Tuesday for 2 years. Men stray sometimes. It doesn't mean anything. Your father had an affair when you were 10. I forgave him. That's what married people do. I'd never known that. In all my years, my mother had never mentioned an affair. I thought of her sitting in the sunroom at family dinners, comparing jewelry with the other wives while the men discussed business. I thought of how she'd taught me to set a table, to smile through discomfort, to never make a scene. I'm not you, I said. No, you're worse. You're sabotaging your sister's happiness because you're bitter about your own failed marriage. My marriage didn't fail. I left. Same thing. I hung up. Violet was standing in the hallway, still in her pajamas. Grandma thinks you should have stayed with Dad, she said. It wasn't a question, apparently. Even though he hit you, she doesn't know about that. Why not? Because I never told her. Because she would have said I provoked him, or that I should try harder, or that leaving would embarrass the family. Violet sat down next to me. Is that what they're telling Bridget? To stay with Garrett no matter what? Yes. Then she's not going to leave him. Probably not. So what do? We wait. We keep the evidence safe, and we make sure he never gets near you. I'm going to college in 3 months. He won't have access to me. Good. That's what matters. But I knew it wasn't just about Violet. It was about the next girl. The next daughter or niece or family friend's child who caught Garrett's attention. The next young woman he'd groom and pursue while my sister looked the other way and my family explained it away as harmless flirtation. At noon, Amy called again. I got a call from the club manager, she said. Garrett filed a complaint. He says I've been stalking him, taking unauthorized photos. He wants me fired. Did they fire you? Not yet, but they're investigating. If he pushes hard enough, I'll lose my job. Don't delete anything. Don't give them your phone. Tell them you need to speak with a lawyer before providing any evidence. I can't afford a lawyer. I'll pay for one. Why would you do that? Because you did the right thing, and because he's dangerous. She was quiet. Then, there's something else. After I sent you those files last night, I got a text from a blocked number. It said, mind your own business or you'll regret it. Did you save it? Yes. And I filed a police report this morning. They said unless he directly threatens me, there's nothing they can do. Forward me everything. The text, the report, all of it. After we hung up, I called a lawyer I'd worked with during my divorce. Told her everything. She listened without interrupting. This is complicated, she said finally. The photos are legal. He was in a public space. The server was doing her job. But if he's connected, if his family has money, they'll bury her in litigation, make her life hell until she backs down. So what do? We prepare, document everything, build a timeline, wait for him to make a mistake. Men like this always do. And in the meantime, keep your daughter safe. That's the priority. But I couldn't shake the feeling that waiting wasn't enough, that somewhere some girl was already in Garrett's sights. Some daughter whose mother trusted him because he came from a good family, because he belonged to the country club, because he'd married into our family. That evening, I was making dinner when Violet called out from her room. Mom, you need to see this. I found her at her computer, staring at a social media post. Bridget had uploaded a photo from the wedding, her and Garrett kissing under a string of lights. The caption read, "To my amazing husband, thank you for the most perfect day of my life. Despite certain people trying to ruin it, our love prevailed. Here's to forever." The comments were full of congratulations and heart emojis. My aunt had written, "Beautiful couple. Don't let jealous people dim your light." My mother, So happy for you both. True love wins. Violet scrolled down. More relatives, more friends, all praising the wedding and subtly implying I'd been unreasonable. Then I saw a comment from someone I didn't recognize. A woman named Alexis Porter. She'd written, "Congratulations. Garrett looks so happy. He was like that at our wedding too, before I found out about the others." The comment had been posted 3 minutes ago. While I watched, it got its first reply. From someone named Jennifer Liu. Same. The country club was even the same venue. I screenshot both comments before they could be deleted. Within seconds, Bridget had removed them and turned off commenting. "Who are these women?" Violet asked. I searched their names. Alexis Porter had a photography business in the next county. Her Facebook showed a wedding photo from 4 years ago. The groom was Garrett. Jennifer Liu was harder to find. But eventually, I located a wedding announcement from 6 years ago in a local paper. Garrett and Jennifer Liu, married at the country club. "He's been married before," Violet whispered. "Twice. And Bridget never mentioned it. Maybe she didn't know. But I thought she did know. I thought about how she'd justified his disappearances, his late nights, his charm with young women. She'd known he had a history and married him anyway, believing she'd be different, believing she could change him. I messaged both women through Facebook, told them who I was and that I needed to talk. Within an hour, Alexis called me. "Your sister married Garrett?" she said. I tried to warn her. I sent her a message 6 months ago. She never responded. "What happened with your marriage?" I found out he was cheating 2 weeks after our honeymoon. When I confronted him, he cried and apologized and promised it would never happen again. It happened again 3 weeks later. And again, and again. I stayed for 18 months before I couldn't take it anymore. Did he ever? I paused, trying to find the right words. Did he ever pursue anyone underage? Not that I knew of. But he talked about teenage girls a lot, how they were more innocent, more genuine. It made me uncomfortable. When I told him that, he said I was being dramatic. "Did you document any of this?" I have texts, emails, therapy notes. I went to counseling to try to save the marriage. The therapist is the one who told me to leave. Would you be willing to share those documents? Why? Because he's doing it again, and my daughter is one of his targets. Alexis was quiet for a long moment. "Send me your email. I'll send everything I have." Jennifer Liu called an hour later. Her story was nearly identical. Married young, discovered his cheating quickly, stayed too long hoping he'd change. She divorced him after finding him with a college student at his office. "He has a type," she said. "Young, naive, eager to please. Girls who don't question him. Girls who are flattered by his attention. That's my daughter. Then get her away from him. However you can. He's not going to stop. Men like him never do." By midnight, I had files from both women. Bank statements showing his spending patterns, photos, emails where he'd promised to change and never did. Text messages from the women he'd cheated with, some of whom reached out to the wives afterward to apologize. In one text exchange, a 19-year-old girl had written to Alexis, "I didn't know he was married. He told me he was single. He took me to the country club every week for months. I thought he loved me." Violet read over my shoulder. "He's a predator." Yes. And Bridget knows. I think she suspects, but she's choosing not to believe it. How can she do that? How can she know what he is and still stay? Because she's scared. Because she's embarrassed. Because she spent $100,000 on a wedding and sent announcements to 300 people and posted photos with the caption, "Forever." That's not a reason to stay with someone who's dangerous. You're right. But people talk themselves into things, especially when everyone around them is saying they're overreacting. Violet was quiet. Then, "If Bridget calls you again, if she asks for help, will you give it to her?" "Yes. Even after everything she's done, she's still my sister. And she's going to need help eventually." What if eventually is too late? I didn't have an answer. Over the next week, things escalated. Garrett's lawyer sent Amy a cease and desist letter, demanding she hand over all photos and delete any copies. Amy forwarded it to the lawyer I'd hired for her. The lawyer sent back a response explaining that Amy had committed no crime and would not be intimidated. Garrett's lawyer threatened a lawsuit. My lawyer said, "Let him try. Discovery will be fascinating." My family stopped calling me. Instead, they posted passive-aggressive messages on social media about loyalty and betrayal. My aunt shared an article about false accusations ruining innocent men's lives. My mother posted a meme about drama queens who can't let other people be happy. Violet got a private message from Bridget. It said, "I know your mom put you up to this, but you need to understand, Garrett loves me. Whatever lies she's told you aren't true. When you're older, you'll understand how complicated relationships are." Violet showed me the message. Should I respond? "That's up to you." She thought for a moment, then typed, "Garrett told someone on the phone that I'd be worth the wait when I turn 18. That's not a lie. That's a threat." She hit send before I could stop her. Within minutes, Bridget called. I answered on speakerphone. "How dare you involve my niece in your sick fantasies?" Bridget yelled. "Garrett would never say something like that. You've brainwashed her." "There's a recording," Violet said calmly, "from a server at the country club. Time-stamped. Want me to send it to you?" "You're lying. You're both lying." "Why would we lie?" I asked. "What do we gain from this?" "Attention. Drama. You've always needed to be the center of everything. I finally have something good in my life and you can't stand it." "Bridget, I have messages from his ex-wives, from women he cheated with, from security footage at the country club. This isn't about you. This is about him. His ex-wives are bitter. The women lied to get money from him, and the security footage shows nothing inappropriate. It shows him leaving your reception with another woman for 45 minutes while you cut your cake. She's his colleague. They were discussing business. At 10 p.m. in the garden? Yes. Important deals don't wait for convenient times. I could hear the desperation in her voice. She was clinging to explanations that made no sense because the truth was too painful. "Bridget," I said gently, "you don't have to do this. You can leave. You can admit this was a mistake. No one will judge you. Everyone will judge me. Everyone will say they knew it wouldn't last, that I was stupid for marrying him, that I should have listened. Who cares what they say? You deserve better than this. Better than what? A successful husband who loves me? A beautiful home? Financial security? Better than someone who pursues teenage girls. He doesn't pursue teenage girls. You're making that up. I have a recording of him saying it. Then play it for me right now. I hesitated. If I played it, she'd tell Garrett. He'd know someone at the club had been listening. He'd be more careful. We'd lose our advantage. That's what I thought, Bridget said. You don't have anything. This is all lies. She hung up. Violet looked at me. Should we have played it? No. We need to keep some cards hidden. So what do we do now? We wait for him to make a mistake, and we keep you safe. But I couldn't shake the feeling that waiting would cost someone. Maybe not Violet. Maybe some other girl who wouldn't have a mother looking out for her. 2 weeks later, my brother called. I need you to come to dinner, he said. Family dinner. At Mom's house. Why? Because Bridget's miserable. Because this fight is tearing everyone apart. Because we need to find a way forward. I'm not apologizing. No one's asking you to. Just come. Hear her out. Against my better judgment, I agreed. Violet refused to come. I'm not sitting at a table with people who think I'm lying about being targeted by a predator, she said. Have fun with your toxic family. She wasn't wrong. But I went anyway. The dinner was tense from the start. My mother had made pot roast, the meal she always made for family peace talks. My father sat at the head of the table, silent as always. My aunt and uncle were there, along with Bridget and Garrett. Garrett looked perfect. Pressed shirt, warm smile, hand resting protectively on Bridget's shoulder. He stood when I entered, offering his hand. Melissa, so good to see you. I'm glad we can all be adults about this. I didn't shake his hand. My mother's eyes flashed a warning, but I sat down across from them without greeting him. So, my father said, carving the roast, let's clear the air. What's this all about? You know what it's about, I said. I know there's been some misunderstanding about Garrett's friendships with colleagues, but accusations have been made that are frankly slanderous. They're not accusations if there's proof. Garrett leaned forward, his expression concerned. Melissa, I understand you're worried about Violet. She's a wonderful girl and you want to protect her. But I promise you, I have never and would never do anything inappropriate toward her. The idea is offensive to me. He was good. I'd give him that. His voice was earnest, his eyes sincere. He looked like a man wrongly accused, patient and understanding even in the face of false allegations. I have a recording of you on the phone, I said, talking about waiting until she turns 18. I've never said any such thing. Then you won't mind if I play it. I reached for my phone. Garrett's hand shot out, grabbing my wrist. Don't, he said, his voice suddenly cold. You're not recording this dinner or playing edited audio that could be anyone. Let go of me. Garrett, Bridget said nervously. Just let her play it. If you didn't say it, it'll be obvious. His grip tightened. I said no. My brother stood up. Let her go. For a moment, I thought Garrett might refuse. Then he released my wrist, sitting back with a pleasant smile as if nothing had happened. I apologize, he said smoothly. This whole situation has me on edge. Being falsely accused of something so heinous is very stressful. I pulled up the audio file, pressed play. Garrett's voice came through my phone speaker, slightly distorted but unmistakable. She's almost 18, right? Legal in a few months. Worth the wait. Then his laugh. That same laugh I'd heard at family dinners, at Bridget's birthday parties. The room went silent. Bridget stared at the phone. That's not him. It's him, my brother said quietly. That's definitely him. It's taken out of context, Garrett said. I was joking with someone about a completely different situation. Someone's daughter who's graduating high school and will be legal to hire for summer work at my office. That's not what it sounds like, I said, because you want it to sound sinister. But I was literally discussing a summer internship. My mother looked uncomfortable. Melissa, maybe you misunderstood. Mom, he said, worth the wait. In what context is that about a job? In the context of finding good help, Garrett said smoothly. There's a shortage of qualified summer interns. I was saying she'd be worth waiting for because she has strong qualifications. It was a ridiculous explanation, but I watched my mother's face soften, wanting to believe him. Watched my father nod slightly, accepting the plausible deniability. Besides, Garrett continued, if I was actually interested in teenage girls, why would I marry a woman in her 30s? That doesn't make sense. Because you like the cover, I said. You like having a wife who makes you look normal while you pursue younger women. That's absurd. Is it? Because I have testimony from 2 ex-wives saying you did exactly this in both previous marriages. The room erupted. My mother gasped. My father demanded to know what I was talking about. Bridget went pale. Ex-wives? She whispered. What ex-wives? Garrett sighed heavily. This is exactly what I didn't want to get into. Yes, I was married before. Twice. Both times when I was much younger. Both marriages ended badly, and both ex-wives have made it their mission to destroy any happiness I try to build. You told me you'd never been married, Bridget said. I didn't think it mattered. They were so long ago. Mistakes I made in my 20s. I didn't want them to color your perception of me. You lied to me. I omitted irrelevant history to protect us both from unnecessary drama, which is exactly what's happening now. He was still good, still spinning each revelation into something understandable. But I saw the crack in Bridget's expression, the first real doubt. I talked to them, I said. Alexis and Jennifer. They both told me the same story. You cheated throughout both marriages with younger and younger women. You made them feel crazy when they questioned you, and you moved on to someone new as soon as they left. They're lying. They have documentation, therapy notes, text messages, photos, which they've probably doctored. Ex-wives lie, Melissa. You should know that from your own divorce. It was a calculated blow, reminding everyone that I too had left a marriage, implying my judgment couldn't be trusted. But I'd prepared for this. I pulled out my folder, laid it on the table. These are bank statements from your marriage to Alexis. They show regular payments to women in their early 20s. Here's an email where you promised to stop seeing someone named Casey. Here's a text message where Jennifer confronted you about a 19-year-old girl you took to the country club. I spread the papers across the table. Bridget stared at them, her hands trembling. And here, I said, pulling out the final document, is the police report from a 20-year-old woman who filed a complaint against you for harassment. It was dropped when you paid her $15,000 to go away. Garrett's pleasant expression finally cracked. Where did you get that? Does it matter? That's sealed. You had no right to access public record, my lawyer had said when she gave it to me. Anyone can request it. Bridget was crying now, mascara running down her face just like it had that night 3 weeks ago when she'd shown up at my house. But this time, I wasn't offering comfort. You lied to me, she whispered to Garrett. About everything. Baby, listen. Don't call me baby. You lied about being married before. You lied about the cheating. You lied about— She stopped looking at me. The night he disappeared for 48 hours. You were with someone, weren't you? Garrett said nothing. Answer me. It was a misunderstanding. A colleague who misread signals. A colleague who you disappeared with for 2 days? I was confused, having cold feet about the wedding. It didn't mean anything. Bridget stood abruptly, her chair scraping against the floor. I need to leave. She walked out. Garrett started to follow, but my brother blocked him. Let her go, my brother said. She's my wife, and she clearly needs space. They stared at each other. Finally, Garrett grabbed his jacket and left without another word. The remaining family sat in uncomfortable silence. Well, my mother said finally, that was unpleasant. Unpleasant? I stared at her. Mom, did you hear anything that was just said? Your son-in-law is a serial cheater who pursues young women, possibly underage women. We don't know that for sure. Yes, we do. We have evidence. Testimony. A pattern spanning 3 marriages. Marriages fail for lots of reasons. That doesn't make him a predator. He has a police report for harassment of a 20-year-old, which was dismissed. Because he paid her off. My mother stood, began clearing plates. I think you've done enough damage for one evening. Bridget just got married. She's supposed to be happy. Instead, she's devastated because you couldn't let this go. I couldn't let it go because he's dangerous. He's not dangerous. He's charming and successful, and yes, maybe he's made some mistakes. But tearing apart a marriage 1 week after the wedding? That's cruel, Melissa. I looked around the table. My father said nothing, already tuning out. My aunt and uncle were gathering their things, clearly wanting to escape. No one was acknowledging what had just happened. You're all going to pretend this is fine? I said. That there's no problem here? The problem, my aunt said carefully, is that you've brought scandal into this family. Whatever issues Bridget and Garrett have, they should work them out privately, not with you airing everything in front of everyone. I aired it because you all refused to see it. Because you all told me I was being ridiculous for not attending a wedding where my daughter would be in danger. Your daughter was never in danger, my mother snapped. That's dramatics. That's you being overprotective and paranoid. He said she was worth the wait when she turns 18. Out of context, he explained that. And you believed him? I believe in giving people the benefit of the doubt. I believe in not destroying families based on speculation and spite. There was no point arguing. My mother had made her choice. They all had. I gathered my things and left. Outside, I found Bridget sitting in her car, crying. I approached carefully. Can I sit with you? She unlocked the door. I slid into the passenger seat. We sat in silence for several minutes. Then, I knew. What? About the cheating. I knew. I found texts on his phone 2 months before the wedding. He said they were from his ex. Someone he'd dated briefly who couldn't let go. He blocked her number. I wanted to believe him. Bridget. Then I found a receipt from the country club. A dinner for 2 on a Tuesday night when he told me he was working late. I asked him about it. He said it was a client meeting. I wanted to believe him. You don't have to keep wanting to believe him. But I spent $100,000 on a wedding. I sent announcements. I posted photos. Everyone knows we got married. If I leave now, everyone will say I'm an idiot. They'll say you're strong. They'll say you didn't settle. No, they won't. They'll say exactly what Mom is saying, that I should have worked harder, that I gave up too easily, that modern women don't know how to compromise. Compromise doesn't mean accepting infidelity. It does in our family. She wiped her eyes. Dad cheated on Mom. Uncle Richard cheated on Aunt Linda. Grandpa cheated on Grandma. And all the women stayed. All the women made it work. That's what we're supposed to do. That's what they chose to do. You don't have to make the same choice. Don't I? Where else will I go? I quit my job for the wedding. I sold my condo to buy a house with him. I don't have anything separate anymore. You have me. You can stay with us. She laughed bitterly. After I excluded Violet from the wedding, after I called you selfish and dramatic, after I chose him over you every single time, you're still my sister. I don't deserve that. Probably not. But it's not about deserving. It's about what's right. She cried harder. I'm so sorry. You were trying to protect Violet and I made everything about me. I knew what he was, and I wanted to believe I could change him. I wanted to be special enough that he'd stop looking at other women. You are special, but not because of him. And you can't change him. Men like that don't change. Jennifer said the same thing. I messaged her after you sent me her information. She said she stayed for 18 months trying to fix him, and he just got better at hiding things. You talked to Jennifer? And Alexis. I wanted to hear their side. I wanted them to be lying so badly, but they weren't. They both described the same man. Charming, successful, attentive at first, then distant, then cruel, then caught, then apologetic. then cruel again. So what are you going to do? I don't know. I'm scared. I know. But I'm here. She reached for my hand. We sat like that until the sun fully set. Over the next month, Bridget moved back and forth between her house and mine 3 times. Each time, Garrett would call crying, promising to change. Each time, she'd go back. Each time, she'd discover another lie within days and return to my guest room. Violet watched this pattern with growing frustration. Why does she keep going back? She asked after Bridget left for the 3rd time. Because leaving is hard. Because she's hoping for a different outcome, but it's the same every time. She needs to figure that out herself. The 4th time Bridget came back, she had a bruise on her arm. He grabbed me, she said quietly. I found texts from someone named Kendra. He said I was snooping. He said I needed to trust him. When I tried to leave, he grabbed my arm hard enough to leave marks. I photographed the bruise from multiple angles, made her file a police report, called my lawyer. That's it, I said. No more going back. This is a line. I know. This time she stayed. The divorce was ugly. Garrett fought everything, claimed the house, the cars, the savings. His lawyer painted Bridget as unstable, dramatic, influenced by her bitter divorced sister. My lawyer fought back, presented the evidence of infidelity, the testimony from ex-wives, the photos from the country club, the police report about the 20-year-old, the bruises on Bridget's arm. The judge granted Bridget the divorce, awarded her half of everything, and issued a restraining order. Garrett violated the restraining order twice, showed up at her work, called her phone 63 times in one night. Each violation resulted in more legal consequences, more proof that he'd never been the man he'd pretended to be. Meanwhile, Amy the server quit her job at the country club, but not before filing a formal complaint about Garrett's behavior and providing documentation to the club's board of directors. The board investigated, found multiple women who'd complained, revoked Garrett's membership. Without the club as his hunting ground, Garrett's social standing deteriorated. His business connections dwindled. His reputation suffered. My family still blamed me, posted on social media about forgiveness and family loyalty, sent Bridget messages about how I'd poisoned her mind, but Bridget stayed away from them, built a new life in my spare bedroom while she figured things out, got a new job, made new friends, started therapy. One evening, 3 months after the divorce was finalized, she came to dinner with paperwork. I got the house, she said. The judge awarded it to me because Garrett violated the restraining order. I want to sell it and give you half the money. I don't need your money. You paid for my lawyer. You let me live here rent-free. You dealt with mom and dad and everyone else while I fell apart. You deserve it. Use it to build your life. That's what I want. She was quiet. Then, Violet? My daughter looked up from her homework. I'm sorry. For everything. For excluding you from the wedding. For not believing you when you needed me to. For choosing him over you even when I knew better. You didn't deserve any of that. Violet considered this. You're right. I didn't. I know. I can't fix what I did, but I want you to know I see it now, and I'm sorry. Apology accepted, but I'm still not calling you for advice on boys. Bridget laughed. Fair. That night, after Bridget went to bed, Violet came to my room. Do you think she's really okay? She asked. I think she will be. Eventually. Do you think she'll fall for another guy like Garrett? I hope not. But that's her journey. We can just be here if she needs us. You always say that people have their own journey, but what if their journey leads them off a cliff? Then we tried. We did everything we could. And sometimes that has to be enough. Violet climbed into bed next to me like she used to when she was small. I'm scared of college, she said quietly. Because? Because I'll be alone. Without you to protect me from guys like Garrett. What if I can't see them coming? You'll see them. You're smart and careful, and you've learned what red flags look like. But if you do meet someone who makes you uncomfortable, you call me. Anytime. Day or night. You really mean that? I really mean that. She fell asleep there in my bed, while I stayed awake thinking about all the ways I'd tried to protect her. All the times my family had told me I was overreacting. All the girls who didn't have someone watching out for them. The next morning, I got an email from Amy. Thought you'd want to know, she wrote. Garrett got arrested last night. He was caught with a 17-year-old girl at a hotel. Her parents filed charges. The police found others, girls he'd been grooming online. It's all over the news. I opened the link she'd sent. Sure enough, Garrett's mugshot stared out from the local news website. The article detailed multiple charges of soliciting a minor, possession of inappropriate images, and contributing to the delinquency of a minor. I forwarded the article to Bridget, then to my mother, then to everyone in the family group chat who'd told me I was overreacting. No one responded. Later that day, my mother called. I didn't know, she said without preamble. I swear I didn't know it was that serious. Yes, you did. You just didn't want to believe it. I thought you were being dramatic. You've always been dramatic about Violet. I've been protective. There's a difference. Is there? Because it seems like you see threats everywhere. This one was real. She was quiet. I'm sorry for not listening, for not believing you. Are you apologizing to me or to yourself? To you, and to Bridget, and to Violet. Then call them and tell them that. She did. Later that evening, both my mother and father called Bridget and apologized, called Violet and apologized. It didn't fix everything, but it was something. At Sunday dinner the following week, my family gathered without Garrett for the first time. The conversation was stilted, awkward. No one knew quite what to say. Finally, my aunt spoke. I should have listened when you raised concerns. I'm sorry. Others echoed her. Small apologies, insufficient, but genuine. Violet sat quietly through it all, observing. Afterward, she said, they're only sorry because he got arrested. If he hadn't, they'd still think you were wrong. She was right, but I'd take their late realization over nothing. 3 months later, Garrett was convicted. 10 years. The judge cited the extensive evidence of grooming, the multiple victims, the complete lack of remorse. Bridget went to the sentencing. I sat beside her. When the judge read the verdict, she didn't cry, just nodded once, like something had finally been settled. Outside the courthouse, reporters tried to approach her. I blocked them while my brother guided her to the car. "How do you feel?" one shouted. "Do you think you should have seen the signs?" Bridget stopped, turned. "I did see the signs. I chose to ignore them because people I trusted told me I was overreacting, that I was being dramatic, that I should give him the benefit of the doubt. So if you want to blame someone for not seeing the signs sooner, blame everyone who tells women they're being too sensitive when they notice red flags." Then she got in the car and we drove away. That evening, Violet left for college orientation. She'd be gone for 4 days, getting to know her dorm, meeting her roommate, touring campus. "Call me if you need anything," I said, hugging her goodbye. "I will, but I'll be fine." "I know you will be." She pulled back, looked at me seriously. "Thank you for missing the wedding, for choosing me, for everything. I'd do it again. I know. That's why I turned out okay." After she left, Bridget and I sat in the quiet house. "She's remarkable," Bridget said. "You raised an incredible daughter." "Thank you. I want that someday. A daughter who knows she's worth protecting, who knows her mother will choose her over anyone else. You'll get there." "You think I can have that? After everything?" "I know you can." We sat in comfortable silence. Outside, the sun was setting, painting the sky in shades of purple and gold. "Do you regret it?" Bridget asked. "Missing the wedding? Starting all of this?" "No, not even a little, not even slightly. I'd miss 1,000 weddings if it meant keeping Violet safe. That's what I want. That certainty. That willingness to burn everything down if it means doing right by someone I love. Then you'll have it. You're already halfway there." She smiled. "Thanks for letting me figure that out here. That's what family's for, is it? Because our family hasn't exactly modeled that. Then we'll model it differently. For the next generation. Violet's generation. And whoever comes after her. Someone has to break the pattern. I'm glad it was you. I'm glad you're here with me." We ordered takeout and watched terrible reality TV and didn't talk about Garrett or the trial or the family drama. Just existed together in the quiet aftermath of a storm. The next morning, I woke to a text from Violet. "Made a friend. Her mom sounds like Bridget's ex. We're comparing notes. Thanks for showing me what to look for." I showed Bridget the message. She read it, smiled sadly. "At least some good came from all of this. More than some. You're free. Violet's safe. Other girls know what to watch for. It cost us a lot, though. The family barely speaks to us. Mom only just started calling again. The social fallout has been brutal. Would you go back? If you could do it all over?" She thought for a long moment. "No, I'd do it differently. I'd listen to you sooner. I'd never have married him in the first place. But I wouldn't go back to not knowing, to pretending everything was fine." "Good. Is it though? Sometimes I think ignorance was easier. Easier isn't always better. No, but it's definitely simpler." Over the next year, Bridget rebuilt her life, bought a small condo with her settlement money, started her own business doing graphic design, made friends who didn't know about Garrett, who saw her as she was now rather than who she'd been. Violet flourished at college, made the dean's list, joined clubs, dated a boy who treated her well and had the sense to be terrified when I met him. "Your daughter told me you'd castrate me if I hurt her," he said nervously over dinner. "She's not wrong." Noted. He was polite, respectful, and brought flowers. Violet later told me he'd spent an hour researching what kind I liked because he wanted to make a good impression. "He's scared of you," she said. "As he should be. It's actually kind of sweet. He asked me about that time you missed the wedding to take me to a college interview. He said any mom who'd do that was not someone to mess with. Smart boy. Don't get too attached. We're probably breaking up when summer hits. He's going to study abroad. Then enjoy it while it lasts. That's very zen of you." I'm growing. The wedding video still lived on my phone, buried in a folder I rarely opened. Sometimes I'd watch it, just to remind myself why I'd made the choices I had, to remember the moment everything crystallized. One evening, Bridget caught me watching it. "I hate that video," she said, sitting beside me. "Why?" "Because I look so happy. And I was so wrong. You weren't wrong to want happiness. You were wrong about where you'd find it. Same thing. No, one is about hope. One is about choice. You're allowed to hope, even after everything, especially after everything." She watched the video over my shoulder, Garrett's hand on Kendra's waist, the too familiar way they moved together. "I knew," she said quietly. "Even then, I knew something was off. But I'd already sent the invitations, already bought the dress, already announced it to the world. How do you back out of something everyone's expecting? You just do. You say, 'I made a mistake,' and you walk away. That easy? That hard, but worth it." She nodded. "I wish I'd walked away then, before the wedding, before everything. But you walked away eventually. That's what matters." "Is it? I cost you your relationship with mom and dad. I cost Violet her senior year of comfort with the family. I cost you. You didn't cost me anything. I made my choices. You made yours. Eventually, we both ended up here. Here being free." She smiled. "Free sounds nice." 2 years after the wedding, that wasn't. Bridget met someone new. His name was Thomas, and he was cautious and kind. He didn't rush anything, didn't push for commitment, didn't make promises he couldn't keep. When Bridget introduced us, he said, "I know what your sister went through. I know why she's careful. I'm okay with that. And if it takes years for her to trust you, then it takes years. She's worth it." He passed the test, not just with me, but with Violet, who'd grown into a sharp-eyed 20-year-old who could spot manipulation from a mile away. "He's good," Violet said after meeting him. "Or he's really, really good at hiding it. Which do you think?" Good. He doesn't ping any of my red flags, and believe me, I have a comprehensive list now. Thanks to Garrett. Thanks to you for showing me what to watch for. At Christmas, 3 years after the disaster wedding, my family gathered again, this time with Thomas, this time without tension. My mother had softened over the years, stopped making excuses for Garrett, stopped blaming me for the fallout. She'd never fully admitted she was wrong, but she'd stopped being actively hostile. Progress, I supposed. Violet came home from college with her boyfriend, now upgraded to fiancé. He asked my permission before proposing, which I respected. He had a solid job, treated my daughter well, and understood that family meant protecting each other. We're not rushing, Violet told me. Engagement for at least 2 years. Living together first. Making sure we're compatible in real life, not just dating life. Smart. I learned from watching you, and from watching Bridget. What did you learn? That love isn't enough if the person isn't safe. That butterflies don't matter if the person gives you anxiety. That you should listen when someone shows you who they are. Those are good lessons. They cost you though. Cost all of us. But you learned them. That makes it worth it. At dinner, my father stood to give a toast. He'd been quiet through most of the family drama, taking my mother's side without much thought. But time had changed him too. I want to say something, he began. 3 years ago, my daughter made a choice that I didn't understand. She chose not to attend her sister's wedding. At the time, I thought she was being selfish. Difficult. I was wrong. He looked at me. Melissa, you saw something we all refused to see. You protected your daughter when we told you that you were overreacting, and you saved your sister when we told you to stay out of it. I should have supported you then. I'm sorry it took me this long to say that. The table was silent. And Violet, he continued, you were brave to speak up about feeling unsafe, to trust your instincts when adults told you they were wrong. I hope you never stop trusting yourself. Violet nodded, blinking back tears. And Bridget, I'm proud of you for leaving, for rebuilding, for not letting one mistake define you forever. Bridget raised her glass. We all did. After dinner, I found Violet on the back porch, staring at the stars. You okay? I asked. Yeah, just thinking about that day. The interview. How scared I was that you'd change your mind and make us go to the wedding. I almost did, when you said we could still make it. Really? For about 10 seconds. Then I looked at you and knew I'd never forgive myself if I chose a party over your future. It wasn't just the interview though, was it? It was about sending a message. What message? That I matter. That my comfort and safety and dreams matter more than family obligation or tradition or appearances. Yes, thank you for that. A lot of my friends at school, their parents wouldn't have done that. They'd have dragged them to the wedding and told them to suck it up. Then their parents are wrong. That's what makes you different. You know when to stand your ground. I learned that from your father, actually. In reverse. What do you mean? I learned that giving in to keep the peace just breeds resentment. That sometimes the only way forward is to draw a line and hold it. Even if it costs you everything? Especially then. Because what's the point of having everything if you've compromised who you are to get it? Violet leaned against me. I want to be like that. When I have kids, I want them to know I'll always choose them. You will be. You already are. How do you know? Because you're here. Because you learned the lesson. Because you know what it looks like when someone puts you first, and you won't accept less. We stayed there until the cold drove us inside, where Bridget and Thomas were laughing at something my mother said, where Violet's fiancé was helping with dishes, where my family was learning to be the kind of family that protected each other. The wedding photo from that day 3 years ago still existed somewhere on Bridget's old social media, but she'd archived it, replaced it with new photos. Her with Thomas, her with me and Violet, her alone, smiling, free. I never regretted missing that wedding. Not for a moment. Because the cost of going would have been Violet's safety, Bridget's future, and my own integrity. And some things I'd learned were worth more than family obligation or social expectation or anyone's disappointment. Some things were worth burning it all down for, like your daughter's safety, like truth, like the fierce, uncompromising love of a mother who knows that missing one day can save a lifetime. Years later, when Violet had her own daughter, she called me from the hospital. We named her Hope, she said, because that's what you gave me. Hope that things could be different. That someone would always fight for me. I cried, holding the phone, thinking about all the choices that led to this moment. The wedding I missed, the family I defied, the line I drew and refused to cross. You gave yourself hope, I said, by being brave enough to trust your instincts. We both did it together. Yes, we did. And in that moment, I knew the story that started with a refused wedding invitation had become something else entirely. Not a story about what we lost, but about what we gained. Freedom, safety, truth, each other. And that, I thought as I hung up the phone and drove to meet my granddaughter, was worth every sacrifice we'd made.